Okay, my back. Oh yeah. Okay, I'm back. Sorry for the technical issue. My computer just crashed and restarted. Hopefully, I'm now using a cooling pad. That will be resolved. Hopefully, let me just turn off every other unused item. What I can. Okay, we'll be just trying to fix this on the go lah, huh? Just making sure I don't have anything else running. And my notes. Okay, my notes. Where did we stop? The business ideas. Okay, hopefully my voice is still clear. Okay. Bismillah, yes. We can only plan, God determines. Melayunya, ketani rancang, Tuhan menentukan. So, okay, hopefully just checking voice quality, video, slide. Okay, and chat seems to be working. Okay, so hopefully itulah the previous on air tadi tu still recorded, and maybe our technical team can join the two videos together. Hopefully, if not, start dari sini. Let's say I don't want to restart all over again and then waste everyone's time. So let's start at the business ideas. So looking at vision, purpose, market needs, and then design thinking and problem solving. So vision is usually for those entrepreneurs who have a vision for the world, that they see things that they want in life, in the world, that they want to become a reality. So you can see a lot of visionary entrepreneurs. Easily people will name Steve Jobs, but I would say living ones include Elon Musk. So they see the world, they see the world that has a potential to become something, and they try to make it happen. So we actually have a workshop on this to create a business idea based on your visions. So once you have a vision of what you want to see in the world, then you want to create a mission. So what are the things that you need to do in order to achieve those mission? And then you can break down all the mission into different activities or objectives that you can do in order to achieve it. Now I like to use the examples that I have, which is actually my own business. So in my case, my swimming school, I have a few other business, but I like to share about my swimming school. So my vision is everyone can swim. Originally it was to prevent drowning, but it feels like it's focusing on the negative. So I believe that if everyone knows how to swim, then we can have less drowning. So in order to see the vision of everyone can swim, not just everyone in Brunei, everyone. So that means everyone in the world. Ini macam Asia tu juga, so everyone can fly, but in this case everyone can swim. So the mission is to provide the swimming education that people need in order for them to be able to swim. So the objectives is to inform the public, to educate them and train them. So the activities involved are providing swimming information, swimming talks, and swimming classes. I've done a few swimming talks, but that really gets a lot of people interested. But when I just promote the swimming classes, it seems to be working. So again, this is using vision in a way to create business ideas. And the business ideas are basically to make your dream, your vision a reality. So using your vision to create businesses to make it a reality, to realize your vision. Now the other way of looking into business ideas is looking at your passion and skills and how you can make money out of them. So even in this case, I have my own examples. So in general, when I was looking into starting a business, I was looking at my passion and skills. So I was interested in ICT and science, and then I was also interested in making money, and then I was also interested in food, health, and fitnesses. And love to teach, even though I didn't end up becoming a chemistry teacher. Still love teaching, and I like sharing what I've learned. And I like to do endurance sports. So these are mostly introverted solo sports where I usually spend time on my own, which is usually swimming, cycling, running, and hiking. But nowadays, a lot of people are into these as well. So there are now communities of people doing this. So it's no longer truly an introverted sport. So looking at the passion and skills, so I can actually decide what type of business that I would be interested in. So passion and skills are very important, because passion helps you maintain that business idea, the business operations, and the skills ensure that you have a high quality product or service. So in my case, my first business was food stalls, because I loved food. So I actually was flipping burgers like 2005. And then at some point, I ventured into internet cafe. I found that someone was selling off the internet cafe. So I bought it over, but unfortunately, it was a dying business. It was a dying industry. I was lacking in market research at that point. So at some point, I decided to convert it into a computer school. And again, internet cafe and computer school is very close. They're both ICT related, but now computer schools were more into sharing what I know, sharing what I've learned about ICT. And then at some point, I became a business consultant and training, because people were asking me how to do what I did, how to do marketing, how to do planning. So it's either I do the planning for them, or I teach them how to do business planning. In fact, one of the first workshops I did for LiveWIRE, before I worked for LiveWIRE, was to do a short workshop on how to write up a business plan. And in 2010, I had the opportunity to work with LiveWIRE. So then I was able. I got the job, and now since 2010, I've been working with LiveWIRE as a business counselor. But at some point, when I was a business counselor, I didn't focus on my health anymore. Then I restarted back. So I worked in LiveWIRE for 2010. I gained weight, 110, and then I went back into my health and fitness craze. So I went swimming, cycling, running, and at that point, I think 2014, I was short of cash. So I was like looking at how can I work with LiveWIRE at the same time still do business. So the easiest one for me was doing a swimming school, because I was very good at swimming, and I could interestingly teach people swimming relatively fast. Apparently, I have a system that is very good, that can teach people in a short amount of time. If you're interested, you can check Effortless Swim, either IG or Facebook, or the website effortlessswim.com. So again, sharing on purpose. You look at your passion and skills, and what you can do, what you can do to make money out of it. So this is the easiest one. There's no point of doing a business that you're not interested in, that you're not passionate about, and you can't really do a business that you don't have any skills. I think the most important part is the passion part. So I'll say it's your purpose, or your life purpose. Once you can match all these together, where you can match your passion and your skills, and then make money out of it. So you're actually doing what you love, and then making money at the same time. So that will be the perfect life for me anyway. So you can also look into that. And in our business ideas, bright ideas, and the business plan series, I also share about this. But if you want, you can do it as a homework later, or maybe while you're listening, you can also write down what are your passion and skills, and how you can convert those passion and skills into business ideas. Or if you have a business idea, or you are running a business right now, you can double check whether it is the right business for you. This can also apply to employment as well. Check if you love what you're doing, if you love your job, if you're very good at your job, or if you're not just job but your business. If you love your business, or if you're very good at your business, then carry on. If not, maybe you have to either find the passion, or find the skill, or maybe let it go. Now, that's probably the most difficult decision to make. And then Maslow's hierarchy of needs, I usually share this in my business plan series, where you can look into what are people's needs. So again, this is about business ideas. So you can look into what people need in order for them to live, to survive, to thrive. Examples here are, if you look at the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the most basic one, we'll start from the bottom. Food and beverage is required for physiological needs. So it's you need it to survive. But nowadays with COVID, the need for medicine is more emphasized now. Without medicine, without vaccines, without the treatments, we cannot survive. So it's not just food and beverages anymore, it's now medicine. And then the second from the bottom is security and safety. So people need homes where they can feel safe, and they might want to add security, maybe security systems, CCTV, maybe fences around the house to feel more secure. And then our need for society, our need for social needs. So we usually fulfill this with gatherings, but with COVID, the need for communications has increased. In fact, this is why Zoom, the Zoom app has increased, and also why live streaming has increased as well. And that's probably why we're looking into this as well, live streaming, because there have been requests for LiveWIRE to have content online so that people can refer to. So again, social needs. And then self-esteem, people's need to feel and look good. So it's usually from hobbies. Usually I stereotype men are into cars and sports or gyms, and then while women are into looks, into cosmetics, into fashion. But then of course there are people with money that they like to show off with luxury goods. And finally, we have self-actualization. This is a very long word, but it actually means to actualize or to fulfill your potential. So this is basically when you are rich already, or when you're successful already, or you have everything that you need, then what will you do? So people need to travel, people need to give to charity. Once they have money, then that's what they'll do. So people will have that need as well. So those are the main ones. Okay, and then finally we have the design thinking. Again, this is about finding business ideas. So one of the things that we teach in LiveWIRE is the design thinking process. There's several versions of this, but this is the general one that we teach. So looking at people's issues, problems, and then finding the solutions to it. So these are a 5-step process: to empathize, finding the problems, defining the problem, then ideate, finding the solutions, prototype, creating or building the solution, and then testing it out and see if it works. So in my example, again, I like to use my swimming school example. So empathize. So the problem was drowning issues where people don't know how to swim. Then define why is the problem there. So fear of water, lack of swimming education, especially in Brunei, we don't have a swimming education, only as an ECA. While in other countries, I think in Australia and UK, it's actually part of the curriculum. So that's the problems, and then ideate the solutions. What can I do to find the solutions to these problems? So that's where came up with the ideas of swimming talks, training resources, or providing training in itself. And then prototype is actually doing it, or at least doing it in a small scale. So when I started off my swimming school, I actually just asked a group of friends who wanted to learn how to swim. Then some people were interested. And then while I was doing my classes, I found out what people needed, what were the problems that people had. Then I learned to be able to systemize my training. So now if you look at the effortless swim, there's 4 levels. So first level is just to being able to swim, swim not long distance, but just being able to swim, just crossing over the width or the length of the pool. The second one, to be able to do a freestyle swim. And then the third one is competitive swimming. So different people have different needs. So these are for those people who want to compete, to try to do a triathlon. And then finally, open water. So training people to survive, actually not just survive, to being able to be comfortable in open water, being in the ocean or in the rivers. Okay, so again, this is about finding business ideas. So business ideas was look at your vision, your purpose, or your passion, and then we have the market needs, and finally we have the design thinking. So you can actually find out more or learn how to find more business ideas by joining LiveWIRE programs. So in Bright Ideas, it's a 2-day program. The first day we're already talking about finding business ideas. Half the day is all about creativity and finding business ideas. In the business plan series, it's more in between ideation to planning. So the first half is about finding business ideas, and not first quarter, and then the rest is about how to plan to create that business. And of course, we have our master classes in finding business ideas. So there's ideation by improvisation, ideation using lean canvas, design thinking, as I mentioned, the 5-step process, and then there's also the impact measurement and management, where we look into the vision and mission, and then creating objectives or tasks or activities to to realize your vision, but that's usually either through business or through non-profit activity. Okay, so that's basically so far on the ideation. After this, we'll be looking into business opportunities, and I'll be checking back with the chat if anyone have any questions on finding business ideas or uncertainties. You can just ask. Okay, I'm just checking. Okay, just checking chat. Okay, okay. So far, no questions. Thank you. Okay, so final part. Now we'll be looking at business opportunities. This is short and simple. So business opportunities is related to your business ideas. So if your business ideas work and there are business opportunities that link to those business ideas, then you'll potentially become very successful. So the business opportunities comes in 3 flavors. It comes in 3 categories: the business to consumer, to the individuals, or business to business, to organizations, to businesses, to corporations from small to big, and then the business to government, so to the government agencies, the ministries, and so on. So first one is the business to consumer. So we've technically covered this, is what are people's needs. So we can again look into the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and then looking into customers' problems. What are the people's complaints? You can look into like those IGs or FBs where people complain. There's usually a business opportunity there. Where people complain, there's an opportunity. There's a Chinese saying that says, in every crisis there is an opportunity, roughly translated. In Malay, it's di mana ada kesempitan, di situ ada kesempatan. So look at what are the people's problems, and then you can find a solution. A good example right now is where we have problems with COVID, and right now the main issue is the COVID detection with the art kit. So there's a huge demand right now for art kits. So if you can solve that problem quickly, then you can get a lot of money. So there's a lot of people providing art kits, but usually pre-order lah. So that's looking at our customers' problems. And then of course there's market trends. Of course the trend right now is related to COVID, but even before COVID, before the 3rd wave, there's a lot of opportunities in food and beverages. So what are the trends are going into now? Interestingly, a lot of our food and beverage industry has gone online because of the first wave of COVID. There's a lot of competitors doing online business from IG. Even before that, it was already there, but because of the lockdowns or the partial lockdowns, then we weren't able to just easily go out. So we had to go online. So even the shopping experience has changed as well. I think even Huaho, I think in Kulak I saw Shopee Full. So they're providing online services. So we can actually now just finally buy stuff online. When in other countries like UK, US, it's been around for the last 10-20 years. And now in Brunei, because of COVID, it has come to fruition. So that's looking at the business to consumer. There are advantages and disadvantages. I just love to share. So the advantages, obviously, is a huge market. It's people. It's everyone. You want to sell to everyone, but the truth is you won't be able to sell to everyone. Usually, it's going to be selling to a niche market. So not everyone will like a certain brand or product or service. A certain amount of people, a certain group will. So the best way is to target the individuals. So what are the people's needs? There are specific needs for specific people, so you can target those. The disadvantages is you have two options when you're trying to market yourself. So the most common trap that people will go for is low price, but that you'll have to counter with high volume. A good example of this is nasi katok. So obviously it's in the food and beverages. It's a huge need. If you don't have food, you'll die. But there's a lot of competition. So most people try to counter that with low price, but in order to profit, you'll have to go high volume. The other route is to go high price and low volume. If your supply is limited, you can easily increase the price. If you're seen as even if you're perceived as limited, you can go high price. But of course, there's a balance that you have to go through. So you have to find that right price. People who learn economics will understand about price elasticity. So when you change the price, will the demand change? So you have to look into that. And then, of course, this is the consumer, the customer. Market trends tends to change. Yeah. So one moment people are into this, another moment people into another thing. I remember before the third wave, I think people were into froyo. I think that's also a matter of timing. Previously, I remember there was already a frozen yogurt place, but it didn't do very well. But after the first wave of COVID and we were able to go out, then I think froyo was an in thing. And now I can see after the third wave, I see food trucks. So if anyone runs around Eco Corridor, so food trucks are popping up as well. So it tends to change. I think it's a bit risky when it changes too much. A good example will be my previous experience was internet cafe. So people were into it, I would say, in the late 90s, but the early 2000s, it was dying out because the technology changed. So you have to be wary of that. Once the technology changes, you probably have to change your direction as well. And of course, as already mentioned, one of the disadvantages to business-to-consumer business opportunities is high competition. So if there's a need, there will be a supply. So once that supply goes up, then you'll be less profitable. Something that you can see during COVID is actually before people were looking for sanitizers, wet wipes, alcohol wipes, and people couldn't find it. Then at some point after I think the first or second wave, you'll see everyone is already selling it. So not just the pharmaceutical shops like Guardian, but even the convenience stores or even electrical stores, they're selling the sanitizers. So high competition is eventual in the business to consumer opportunities. Now let's look into business to business. Again, I'll be checking in chat if anyone has any questions. Okay, let me double check in chat. Okay, so no questions. So again, if anyone has any questions, I will try to answer them as soon as I can. Okay, so business to business. So these are businesses with businesses or organizations. So companies such as banks, oil and gas industry, like Shell, for example, and then retail shops and any companies with CSR or corporate social responsibilities. And of course, you can also try to provide services to the SMEs or the micro SMEs. So among the business opportunities that you have, again, look at the needs of these businesses or organizations. So I try to look into it in terms of from its beginnings to its expansion. So as a business starts, then they'll need consultation. So a few people still ask me for advice for starting and running their business. Usually I just refer to any LiveWIRE workshops now. But previously I would charge people to write up a business plan. So you can also become a business plan developer. So that's another opportunity. If you join our business plan series workshop, you learn how I create a business plan. So potentially you can also create business plans for other people. And then there's of course supplies and stationery. Most brick and mortar businesses do require supplies, simple pens, paper, even letterheads. And then market research. This is something that most Brunei businesses don't do a lot. There's not a lot of market research done in Brunei. I think Grominda, they've provided market research. So most market research is done by government. It's very rare in Brunei for a private company to do market research. But in other countries, market research is necessary in order to identify the market trends. I think some of the positions that I've seen in businesses is the business development officer. To me, I think that's the R&D or research and development of the company. So if people have if they're big enough, they usually have those people. But for small time business, they probably need someone else to do the market research for them. Not much different from a business plan developer as well. It's basically doing market research. And then once a company wants to launch or wants to expand, then there's opportunities for event management. So some businesses may be able to do it themselves, but most big businesses will probably want to outsource it. A good example is Shell. So they don't actually have an internal events marketing department, but they outsource it. I think 2 or 3 years ago they opened it up to an iUsahawan business opportunity. And then there's printing services. I know we're living in a digitalized world, but printing is still necessary. Even if you look at big events like upcoming is National Day, and half of the year July, HM's birthday. So printing is still necessary. So those are still opportunities. Then training and accreditation, depending on your business, some training and certification is required. Usually in oil and gas industry, there's the IOSH and NIBOSH training. So there's money in there. Then financial services, either banks, that'll be a more difficult business opportunity to go into, but you could look into financial consultation or bookkeeper or financial accountant. Again, some of these jobs can be internal, but they can be outsourced as well. Especially for small businesses, they might want to look into outsourcing it because they usually don't have the skills themselves, and if they want to expand or apply for a loan, they'll want to look for a consultant to create the financial reports for them so that they can have that loan. And then finally, expansion lah. So based on the business plan developer, the market research, some ideas of expansion. So they might expand their buildings, they might expand their resources and so on. So there's a lot of business opportunities there. Okay. That's interesting. So looking at business opportunities, people are looking for PC items. Yes. That's a good one. That's more into back to the consumers. So because of COVID, there's a lot of need or necessary requirements for online learning. In general, phone should be enough, but most of the things that schools teach maybe require like Excel or some other project. So they'll probably need a computer system. And then there's also the online conference requirement. So Zoom and MS Teams and so on. Nowadays, they actually require a lot of high spec lah sikit, because even for older computers, even if they're high end, they might not be able to handle Zoom. I noticed a few, I think the person is in this chat, they were complaining they have an i7, but it's an older generation, but it's not compatible with Zoom's virtual background. Okay, sure. Iklankan diri saya, so you can promote yourself. So if you're looking for PC items, you can follow sana ada Tech and Things on IG. Although probably post this live stream, will probably edit that out, but it's still be on the chat. Okay. So again, you are welcome to share about yourself and your business in the chat as well. Okay, so that was business to business. Looking at the examples. We haven't gone to the examples yet. So, mana? Don't crash. Okay, so just sharing here, since we're talking about business to business, tender opportunities. So you can look into tender. So tender can be either government or business to business. And a lot of businesses actually publish tenders. That means business opportunities that they want other people to do for them. So it can be a small business or it can be a big business. You can either see this from the newspapers or even online. You just look for Brunei tenders. I think there's one website that's trying to consolidate all the tenders in Brunei, whether it's government or private. But here I'm just sharing in terms of BSP or Brunei Shell Petroleum, they actually have tender opportunities available. So this one you can just Google BSP tender opportunities, or you can see from the link here, it's bsp.com.bn /something business opportunities. In general, you should be able to find this page. And this of course changes, and this one you can see I just pulled this out a few days ago just to be updated. And there's opportunities for canteen services, IT telecommunications, office materials and equipments. So there are several business opportunities from small to high to basic to highly specialized. So even simple businesses might be able to get business opportunities. A lot of people don't know this, so that's why there's not a lot of people who apply for this. So in general, there's not a lot of competition applying for these. BSP would love for more people to apply for these, and this is also another goal for LiveWIRE, is to help people to get contracts, whether it's with BSP or other businesses. So again, you can look this up, and of course don't forget to check out the checklist and guidelines how you can be eligible. In general, small businesses can get business opportunities, but I think they usually look into Sindrian Bahats. So you might want to register your business as Sindrian Bahat, or you want to upgrade your business to Sindrian Bahat when you want to apply for business opportunities with Shell. Okay, so those are tender opportunities, and then of course there's advantages and disadvantages. In general, most corporates are good paymasters. They usually have a policy, whether it's a 30-day policy or a 90-day policy, whether that's 1 month or 3 months. Depends on the reputation. So usually people who have bad reputation, you'll find out from the previous suppliers. I'm not gonna name names, but in general, the BSP has a good reputation for being a good paymaster. And another advantage is you don't have a lot of competition. As mentioned, BSP they don't have a lot of suppliers that applies, because I think most people don't know, or most people don't think that they can apply for it. So there's not a lot of competition. So if you can apply, if you're eligible, do so. Look it up, find out if there's any business opportunities there. Disadvantages, you need to know the right people. So networking would be advantageous. If sometimes if you know people in there, then they can update you when there's something new. Of course, be careful, or else there'll be issues of business integrity or conflict of interest. As long as you're not too close to it, you should be fine. And unfortunately, requirements may be high depending on the corporations. But in terms of BSP, the requirements, as I mentioned, in most cases, you need to be a Sindrian Bahat. And then not to mention that you might have to follow a few of the requirements as well. There's something in BSP or in oil and gas industry called green banding. So you have to fulfill certain requirements such as HSE or HSSE, or health, safety, security and environment. Once you fulfill those, then you are eligible to apply for the tenders or can get awarded those tenders. So that's business to business. Now look at business to government. Okay, there's a lot of government ministries. A lot of them have tenders. Again, most tenders are in general to outsource, to do stuff, to do activities that are not their main aim and their main processes or their main operations. So looking in government, they also have that as well. So you can look into all the ministries. In general, their individual websites might have specific tenders, and the tenders in general, as you see on the bottom left, is the Pelita Brunei. So you can look into Pelita Brunei.gov.bn, or you can look for Brunei government tenders. It'll lead you to Pelita Brunei website. So you can look at the most current government tenders. So among the opportunities you might have, looking at the tenders, in general, like private-public partnerships, there's a lot of failing or projects under government that they might need private partnerships. And then there's also you can see a lot of GLCs, government-linked companies. So those are basically private-public partnerships. So a lot of private companies partner up with the government to create a project. You can see also in farming, you can see also in the oil and gas industry, and so on. Then there's supplies. So supplies to government, again, like stationaries. Events management, sometimes they try to do this internally, but more often than not it's usually terribly done. But once a government department has budget to do event management, then you can see that it's done properly. At the least, they'll probably ask for consultation rather than an events management company. Then there's food and beverages and catering. Previously in government, before COVID, before the budget restrictions, every meeting has food and beverages. So there's a huge opportunity for catering. But nowadays, it's usually for big events. Good example is right now, National Day. During National Day, you usually just see the people lining up, walking around, but there's also food and beverages provided for those people who are involved in the events. So there are also opportunities there. Media and coverage, usually, again, related with events management, usually they have their own internal team, but if they don't, then they'll probably hire outsiders. I think there was a LiveWIRE member, what was his name? Ambuyat. So he used to create cartoons as well, and I think AITI often hired him to do cartoons. I think if you see the cartoons that are on TV or animation, sometimes they are outsourced. They might have an internal team that does it as well, but in most cases I've seen is they actually outsource it. Research and studies, as mentioned, corporates really, small companies in Brunei rarely do this, but in government they usually outsource the research. So that sometimes involves consultancy and training as well. So training, I've actually done a few training tender contracts when I had my computer school. I was outsourced to subcon to another company, and they were looking for ICT trainers who can converse in Malay. So people were looking for me. So I filled in that gap. And then, of course, there's infrastructure and construction. Usually when the Brunei government has a lot of budget, then they'll be looking into this, either to expand the building or to add another new building. Of course, in most cases, you'll be looking into maintenance. Nowadays, it's to save money. But we still have to maintain a few buildings. We can't just leave the buildings as it is. You can also see like stadium is currently being maintained, but unfortunately with COVID, a lot of the processes are slowed down. I think projects that were supposed to finish like late last year or middle of last year has been extended. So it's a bit slowed down there. That includes road, the JKR, even though it's government JKR, but you might notice that the labor workers are foreign. So that most likely means they are private companies that have contracted to fix the roads. Okay, and this is an example of the government tenders. Again, this is a recent one I plucked from the Pelita Brunei. So in this example is the food supplying to schools, and in this case breakfast. So it's quite common for Ministry of Education to tender out supplying food to schools. Even the canteens, they have a limited cycle, so probably every 1 to 3 years they'll be tendering out for new suppliers. So there's a huge opportunity there. Unfortunately, because this is publicly published in Pelita Brunei, you'll have a lot of competition as well. Okay, so the advantages is, of course, people will see it as easy money. The government will pay, but unfortunately, there are, I don't want to make the government look bad, but there are technically poor paymasters, although they have improved. Previously, like 10 years ago, I've heard people like 1 year they haven't been paid, but nowadays I hear a few months. So it's getting better. So it's kind of good easy money. Government is paying you, but they don't usually pay on time. Again, government is trying to improve. And then, of course, the other disadvantages is networking might be advantageous, but as mentioned with the BSP stuff as well, it might be investigated as conflict of interest. So be careful with using your contacts. Okay, as long as you're not taking advantage of people, of your contacts in an unfair way, you should be fine. But just be wary of that. And as mentioned, there's a lot of competition because it's usually published in the LiveWIRE Brunei. There's a lot of competition, and I think this is where a lot of people complain, where they see the contractors that get the contracts are usually foreigners, and usually because a lot of high competition, people usually go for the lowest price, not necessarily the best price. Okay, although in general the statement is usually they don't necessarily go for the cheapest tenders, but if everything looks the same, if everything has the same supplier, everything has the same specification, then of course the cheapest one will win in most cases, if it's the same. But if you can provide something special, something different, then it's advantageous. But in most of these tenders, it's going to be something specific, so it's a matter of mostly looking for the lowest amount. Okay, so that's business to government, and basically that's it on the business opportunities. So if you want to find out more, or if you want to discuss more with other people, you can also join our business plan series. We cover the market research already on the first day in the afternoon. Basically the second part of the business plan series, we talk about market research. What is the market telling you? What's the opportunity there? And then we also have master classes, again, half-day workshops. We do have specific on market research in itself. And then there's something called buyer's persona, looking at your ideal customer target. And then there's the business model canvas, again, looking at the opportunities based on your business ideas, along with ideation using lean canvas. Okay, so that's basically it. So just sharing with you that, again, in terms of if you're wanting to run a business, it's recommended to keep track of your finances, and you can easily do that using the iCashflow.bn. So this is one of the apps that we develop for SMEs. So we would like to help a lot of people to manage their finances, because I would say majority of most business failures is the failure to manage their finances. So at the least that you could do is track your finances to see where your money is going, where it's coming from, and then see whether you're managing it properly. So if you want to download from either Google Play or App Store, you can do so by scanning the iCashflow.bn from this QR code. So I'm just going to give a few seconds for anyone who hasn't downloaded the app yet, okay, to download. So even if you have especially if you have a government or a corporate tender, one of the problems that people have is management. So a good example is, simplest one is the government. So as I mentioned, they're not really usually good paymasters. So worst case, they pay you in 1 year, but then you still have to pay your workers, your expenses. So most contractors would do is they borrow money from the bank to manage those finances, and then once the payments from the government comes in, then they pay the banks, and then they still have leftover for profit or for bonuses or for whatever. But if only they manage it properly, most of what happens is they don't manage it properly. They borrow from the bank, but when the money comes in, they found out that somehow they didn't have enough money to pay off everyone in the first place. So again, poor financial management. Okay. So again, if you haven't, please download the iCashflow.bn. Maybe it'll help you. If it's not for business, you can also use it for personal uses. And then we also have the alumni profiles ebook. Okay, so scan to download the ebook. So you can find out who are the alumni that has been successful in LiveWIRE in the last 20 years. It's not everyone here. We've done another one like 10 years ago. Some of them survive still and still managed to go into this ebook. So there are new and older business owners and managers. So just if you want to find out more. So if you want to find out more about LiveWire, find out more about the workshops, there are also contents in here, so you can find out more. And right now, of course, with the whole COVID third wave, our office is not yet it's not fully operational, so you can't just drop by. But if once the third wave is over, the Omicron wave is over, you can drop by and meet with us. But otherwise, to find out more information, just check our website, livewirebrunei.com. But for updates, if you have any changes or any new workshops or any other events, or when you want to be reminded of the next live stream, just check our IG, LiveWIRE Brunei. Okay, so just reminding you, so that's basically it for this session for this month. But in March, we'll be looking at the legal considerations in doing business in Brunei. In general, it's mostly copy pasting from business.gov.bn. But if you want it to be summarized and to be explained further, you can look up the live stream then, and maybe even ask your questions. Okay, so any questions? I'm just checking the chat. Okay, checking chat. Okay, so far I don't see any questions, but I'm gonna give at least 1 minute, because sometimes the network is delayed up to 1 minute. Okay, just checking chat. Okay, again, apologies for the technical issues earlier. So thankfully that was resolved. Basically my computer was overheating. Biasa di office sajuk banar. Tapi masa di rumah ni, some of you know that I don't usually turn on my aircon, so the aircon wasn't cold enough yet to cool down the laptop. So yeah, thankfully we've resolved that. And also thank you for joining us until the end. And I would like not to forget to say Happy National Day. So please celebrate safely and responsibly. Stay safe. So I'm just looking at chat if anyone have any questions. Okay, can't wait for the next one. Okay, of course, if you have any questions or comments, or if you want to have any recommendations of what topics, maybe this is comprehensive enough, or at least you might suggest something that I cover in those topics as well. Okay, just double checking my dates. Yeah, I think that's comprehensive enough, but again, I might miss something. Okay, so far no questions, and time now is 3:32, so a bit but even with the technical issues, we're on time. So I was just planning a 1 hour talk. Okay, so live chat, no questions. Brunei, yes, National Day. Okay, so if no questions, again, thank you very much. See you in the next session.